Welcome back. Well, we left off was with the author Stephen Sukup, who's been in the industry a long time, understands the risk of woke capital. In fact, he wrote a book on it. We were talking about Blackrock, Larry Fink, and how they were invested in Petro China. So let me go right back to it, Stephen.
Well, as I said, Petro China was at one point the largest corporation in the world, the largest petroleum company in the world, and it was the Chinese National Petroleum Company had some issues, and these are issues that we worked on a little bit back in 2000 with Frank Gaffney and Roger Robinson, where Petro China and the Chinese National Petroleum Company were providing financial assistance to the regime in Sudan that was trading, that was involved in the modern day slave trade. They were capturing, auctioning, selling black slaves in Khartoum. And Petro China was one of the companies that was sanctioned for supporting the regime. And yet Larry Fink, who is our moral scold, was, his firm was the largest holder of Petro China for a long time. I don't believe they are now, but for many years they were.
It doesn't sound very woke to me. I mean,
No.
It really doesn't. Now, there's even closer to home. There are some instances, just came out the story, Coca Cola had employee training where they're telling their employees to be less white. And yet that gets out and the customer's like, what is that about? I mean, that sounds like abject racism on its face. Why would Coke do that?
I think Coke probably would do that because they were confident that it would never get out. That's the arrogance of a lot of these woke C-suite types. And because they probably got a lot of pressure from the bottom up from some of their employees. As I said, the pressure on a lot of these companies comes from three directions. And I imagine they got a lot of pressure from the bottom up.
Wow. It just seems like, again, the customer is always right, and the goal of a company is to make money, following all the rules and regulations of society. Those are just being completely ignored.
Yeah, absolutely. The woke capitalists ignore all sorts of things. They ignore the history of the movement that they're involved in. They ignore the history of the companies and the people they deride. They ignore what the virtues of capitalism are. It's a very closed moral mindset, and it's eventually going to cause serious problems.
Well, they're doing it in conjunction with both Washington and Wall Street and the Chinese government and the globalists. I mean, it seems like it's a fascist oligarchy that's forming where the companies do the bidding of the government and the government does the bidding of the companies, and the shareholders and the real owners are left out in the cold.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote a piece a couple weeks ago where I took somebody in the media had compared our current state to corporatism. And I said that it's actually worse than corporatism because corporatism implies that the collusion between government and business is at least being run by the government. What we have is a corporatocracy, which is the collusion between business and government, but where government is subservient to the corporations. So the corporations are in charge, and they're essentially imposing their will on us from the top down.
And it's corporate elitists who are in charge. It's not the people who actually
Absolutely.
own the corporations. So
No. That's, again, as with the passive asset managers, these are people who are leveraging the wealth invested in their companies by average Americans to advance their political beliefs.
So what do we do about it? I mean, I know what we're doing. Economic War Room, we've started the National Security Investment Consultant Institute. If you have a financial advisor client-facing advisor, and you want your money to represent your values and not somebody else, not some Wall Street elitist values, then you tell your stockbroker, your financial planner. And the problem is, the first thing they'll say is, I don't know how to address that. So we've got a whole training program, and if you want to nominate your advisor, you go to economicwarroom.com/advisor, give us the name of the advisor, we'll contact him or her and say, hey, here's our training. So I know what we're doing. We're trying to collect 10,000 trained advisors representing $1 trillion of capital to make a difference. And by the way, Stephen, you would be fantastic having you use, we're going to use your book as part of the curriculum. It's a great book.